Why 2025 could be better? Four unexpected reasons to be optimistic about the year ahead, according to an analysis by Politico. It's no surprise that most media outlets, as the year draws to a close, have been doing their traditional reviews, lamenting that the coming year will be more disappointing than the previous 12 months. Politico takes a different tack for 2025 and instead looks to the sunny highlands of next year. Tomorrow, of course, is unknown. Predictions have a nasty habit of being blatantly disproven. Fortune tellers are praised for their predictions, even if their many guesses are often wrong and easily forgotten. There were those who insisted that the internet would fail and television would never catch on. Even the near infallible US election forecaster Alan Lichtman was wrong this year with his consistent prediction that Kamala Harris would win over Donald Trump. Of course, unpredictable and disruptive events such as pandemics can turn everything upside down. And still, we acknowledge that making predictions is a fool's game. Here are five, not mutually exclusive, scenarios to cheer us up. Stopping the wars. The master of upheavals, Donald Trump, may not be the peacemaker he is, but he pledged during his campaign to stop the wars raging around the world, including the Middle East and Ukraine. Maybe he can. Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine certainly suspects that this might happen, which is why he was quick to declare that Russia's war in Ukraine would end faster when Trump takes office. Perhaps the Ukrainian president simply wanted to put on a brave face and try to stay in the American leader's good graces by signaling his willingness to engage in negotiations. Saying no probably would not have thrilled the president-elect, so he preferred to let Vladimir Putin do the hard work. In some European capitals, there is secret relief that at the prospect of Trump brokering an end to the war. Some believe he is more likely to get a better deal from Moscow than a Kamala Harris president. Despite Western promises to stand by Ukraine for as long as necessary, there's growing realization that the war cannot be won if the goal is for Kiev to regain territory taken by Russia. Ukraine's Western allies have never really considered what it would take to do that. And if Trump brokers a deal that involved territorial losses for Ukraine, then there is the added bonus that he can be blamed for any concessions, even leaving Europeans and American hawks to get away with the empty promises they made so lightly. It may be sad, but Europe does not have the money or the means to finance a forever war, quote unquote, and voters are not going to entertain the idea of deploying troops to Ukraine. At least a pause in the war, even if only temporarily, would save some lives, as Putin is unlikely to be satisfied with a partial victory for very long. In the Middle East, Israeli ultra-nationalists and U.S. Jewish fanatics are celebrating Trump's re-election, and his choices in foreign policy and national security have increased their spirits. In their opinion, Trump will give them what they want. After all, his nominee for U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, has rejected the very idea that there is a people called Palestinians. He believes they should be relocated to another country. Still, Trump did not give Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu what he wanted the last time he was in the Oval Office, a ratification of the West Bank annexation, or at least the Israeli settlements. Some in Trump's inner circle doubt that Bibi will get a blank check this time around. Netanyahu has been courting Trump's persistently, trying to make up for his slip-up in congratulating Joe Biden on his 2020 election victory at a time when Trump was questioning the tally, claiming the election was rigged. Bibi could have just kept quiet, an exasperated Trump later said. If the Israeli leader expects an easy victory, I think he's going to be disappointed. He's going to have to recalibrate his approach because Trump wants to end the fighting in the Middle East almost as much as he wants to end the fighting in Ukraine, said a Republican negotiator. So here's the prediction. The Palestinians get a piece of the West Bank and a destroyed Gaza for their state, and Ukraine loses 20% of its land, but it's better than nothing or more war. Farewell to Pax Americana. This is not a difficult prediction to make after Trump's re-election. The last time the great disruptor served in the White House, European leaders believed they could weather the storm until everything returned to its old normal, and to a point they were right. America is back, the transatlantic alliance is back. Joe Biden told the Munich Security Conference a few weeks after his election, much to the relief of Washington's allies still reeling from the lingering effects of the Trump presidency. And indeed, transatlantic relations were smoother and more civilized, although there was the hiccup of Biden's decision to allow Afghanistan to fall into the arms of the Taliban, to which European officials reacted with a mixture of distrust and sense of betrayal. But was the return to the old normal so good? Wasn't it always a false dawn? Isn't it time for Europe to stand on its own 2 feet? True, Europe will have to endure presidential excesses and inflammatory tweets again, but along with the threats to leave NATO and impose tariffs, but isn't this an opportunity? Could European leaders now regain their courage and take off their aprons? For years they've been engaged in the discussion of strategy, strategic autonomy, and greater participation in the burden of their own defense, and now they have a chance to determine their fate. Trump's return to the White House could be what shakes Europe out of their sick situation of its own making. Admittedly, it's a huge challenge because, as commentator Mutaba Rahman, head of Eurasia Group's Europe practices, noted, European countries will have to overcome differences over security, defense, immigration, and fiscal policy, which are the least amenable to collective EU action precisely because they are inherent to nation states, borders, taxes, and national security. The strengthening of national sovereignty on these issues does risk fueling populism and political fragmentation, but we should remain confident that there will be a full coordination of minds between Ursula von der Leyen, Viktor Orban of Hungary, Giorgia Meloni of Italy, Robert Fico and Emmanuel Macron, and the rest. Trump, Musk, and MAD, still not convinced that next year will be better than 2024. The mutually assured disruption, MAD, that is inevitable between the top leader, Trump, and the current leader of Elon Musk's cronies should be a magnificent spectacle. Two chiefs in the kitchen, especially those with big egos like Gordon Ramsay and Marco Pierre White, never work well. With two presidents in the Oval Office, the menu will be even tastier. Musk will argue that his $200 million campaign contribution buys him more than just the newly formed Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. The department is apparently named after Musk's favorite meme in cryptocurrency, but it's easy to imagine that Musk also had in mind the office of the Doge of Venice, the head of what eventually became known as the most serene Republic of Venice. Admittedly, a respectable set of Doges ended up deposed, blinded, and exiled, but the process to that end should be entertaining. There's already friction between Musk and Trump's advisors, with reports of a huge spat between the Tesla billionaire and Boris Epstein, a lawyer who coordinated Trump's legal defense. Epstein oversees cabinet picks, and during a dinner at Trump's Mar-a-Lago club, the two clashed, with Musk questioning some of the picks and accusing the longtime Trump advisor of leaking to the press. Musk then took to X, the social network he owns, to publicly press Trump on economic policy and cabinet picks, praising a foreign leader for cutting tariffs, the exact opposite of what Trump is planning, and for promoting the man he thought should be heading the Treasury Department. Trump loyalists say the clash cannot last long between the hard-headed men, arguing that there will come a time when Musk will overstep his bounds, failing to realize that he is not really a Venetian Doge when it finally does explode through viral social networks controlled by big men. It will be more spectacular than the 4th of July celebration. Brave New World. Speaking of Musk, the fast-approaching age of artificial intelligence is upon us. The Irenes worry about how artificial intelligence will make it even more convenient for authoritarian leaders to manipulate and misinform with deepfakes. Others, proponents of negativity, worry that democracies will lose the race to win in the field of artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies, which have become critical to the global competition between the free world and our malicious and authoritarian adversaries, according to General Nick Carter, former Chief of Staff of the UN. Vasiliou and Robert Scott, CEO and co-founder of Apolitical, said, "And it is the winners of this competition who will be able to determine our future," they said. Henry Kissinger and others fear that AI will enhance the power of non-state actors and corporations like those controlled by Musk and Bezos of Amazon, or will upset the old balance of power by bringing about a new, uncharted imbalance. If some states adopt AI to the highest level more quickly and easily than others, the world would be even less predictable. In cases where a state is forced to confront military or diplomatically another state with advanced artificial intelligence or artificial intelligence itself, humans would find it difficult to survive, much less compete. Kissinger recently wrote with Eric Schmidt, former Google CEO, and Craig Mundie, former Microsoft senior advisor. Gloomy stuff, but it's best to remain optimistic about artificial intelligence and to stick to Kissinger's scenarios about corporations forming alliances to consolidate their already considerable power. These corporate alliances might take on traditional functions of the nation state, although rather than seeking to define and expand limited areas, they would cultivate pervasive digital networks as their own domains. Musk, of course, has already implanted 2 patients with a Neuralink brain-computer interface, which is designed to allow them to control a computer or a mobile device wherever they go. There were initial problems and glitches, obviously, but we can look forward to the day it will come soon enough, and hopefully next year, when we won't have to give commands to Jeff Bezos, Alexa, or Apple's Siri, and instead just think, it's time to turn off the lights. This is from Politico. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.